I think we are live. I think we are live. Microphone check. MOP. Microphone check. MOP. What's good, everybody? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition. I've been away for a long time doing these type of interviews and having a guest. I have a great guest today here. Kevin Danna, the Santa Cruz Warriors announcer. Man, like I said before we went live, I really appreciate you being here, and I'm forever thankful for you being here, man.
Hey, Mario, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Hola, mis amigos en Chile. Yo hablo un poco de español. Necesito practicar mucho más, pero es un placer para mí para hablar contigo.
Wow, man, you know a little bit Spanish, so you're gonna be a fan favorite from this page. So I really appreciate you being here, man. I got a lot of most of my subscribers are Golden State Warriors fans, so I have to give what the people want,
Yeah, totally.
So I'm happy to be here. Hopefully we have a great podcast today. You have been the Santa Cruz Warriors, which is the G League team. There's only one team in the NBA that doesn't have a G League team, right? If I'm not mistaken.
There are two now. At one point, I think it might have been down to one, but it's the Suns and the Blazers, and both of those teams used to have G League teams, and now they don't.
Wow.
I think Mario, that's going to change pretty soon because new general manager in Portland recently. And a new owner in Phoenix, and the previous owner in Phoenix, Sarver, was known for being a little bit on the cost. Yes, thank you. You took the word right from me. So, I think that's going to change pretty soon. I know the new ownership group is really about it. And Portland, I've known people in their organization for a while because they used to assign players to us when they didn't have a team. And a lot of their B-ball ops guys are really about bringing a G League team to Oregon.
Well, that's amazing. Obviously, Matt Ishbia is the new owner of the Phoenix Suns, so maybe they hopefully with KD coming back from the injury, they can get into the playoff and deep into the playoff. But that's not what we are talking about today. We're talking about the Warriors and the Santa Cruz Warriors. Obviously, we got Kevin, Danna here. Si ustedes tienen alguna pregunta, la pueden dejar en los comentarios. Si yo le puedo preguntar a Kevin. Kevin, you have been the Santa Cruz Warriors announcer since 2012, right?
Yep. 11 years. I just finished up my 11th year with them. So when they started, once they moved from Bismarck, North Dakota, as you well know, Mario, then I got the gig, and it's been the best job I've ever had, without a doubt.
Wow, that's amazing. Obviously, you mentioned that they moved like almost 11 years from North Dakota to Santa Cruz. I remember that I read somewhere that it was very important that the Santa Cruz Warriors, the G League team, was near the facility and obviously near the Golden State in general. How much of an importance do you think that it was moving the team from North Dakota to Santa Cruz?
Well, I'll give you guys an example. Estoy escribiendo un libro sobre la historia de los Santa Cruz Warriors, y there was one instance in 2012 where I think it was Chris Wright, who was on assignment with the Dakota Wizards. There was a game with the Warriors in Southern California where he played. Then, they needed, or they were playing in Bakersfield. Then they went home, but the Warriors were down to 7 or 8 guys. The Golden State Warriors were down to 7 or 8 guys. They landed in Bismarck, and while they were in the plane, Kirk Lacob called them and said, "Hey, we need to bring Chris Wright back to LA where the Warriors were playing the Clippers." And so they landed in North Dakota and then got right back on a plane to go to LA. They were there for, all of 30 minutes, an hour, or whatever. And the guy who was with him, Chris Weems, is now a player development assistant coach with the Golden State Warriors and former Santa Cruz Warriors head coach. Is man, this is too much. We're going halfway across the country, and all just to go all the way back to California. And they were already in the motion of bringing a team to the Bay Area, bringing their team to the Bay Area at the time. But they don't have to deal with that anymore because it's not a direct flight for the people in Chile, it's not a direct flight from the Bay Area to Bismarck. Like, Bismarck's a pretty small city. I've been there once, and it's a nice town. I really enjoyed my time there. But you have to go through either Denver or Chicago. So it's 2 flights just to get from North Dakota to the Bay Area. And that just made it really untenable for the type of player movement that they want to have, where you can have a guy, in theory, practice during the morning with the Santa Cruz Warriors and then be available on the bench for Golden State that night. Now, I mean, it's not the easiest drive from Santa Cruz to San Francisco. There's a big highway. You go through the mountains. It's like an 8-mile stretch that's kind of, you know, if you haven't driven it a lot, then like it gets a little nerve-wracking for some people. But, you know, it's an 80 to 90-mile drive as opposed to a 2 plane flight that'd probably take, you know, 8 hours of travel for the day. So it's a lot more convenient.
Yeah, and I assume it's very taxing on the players to go from one place to another. As you mentioned, you got to take 2 flights. So that's a great point. How much do you think has been? We have seen a lot of players: Moody, Kuminga, Jordan Poole, Lester Quiñones, Baldwin, Rawlings, Wiseman, even though he's not in the team anymore. JTA, he also was part of the Santa Cruz Warriors. What do you think it makes unique these Santa Cruz Warriors? The approach is very similar. They try to run the system in general terms. The plays are very similar. What do you think that's a very unique thing for the Santa Cruz Warriors?
You know, it's something that we're seeing a lot more across the G League these days, where NBA teams are running the same thing, using the exact same terminology as their G League teams are. I'd say Golden State was one of the first teams to really kind of do that in the G League. I'm not going to say they were the first team, but as far as like same terminology, kind of playing a similar style, like when the Warriors got into the G League as the Santa Cruz Warriors, there were only 16 teams, and a handful of those weren't even affiliated with an NBA team. Like, they were independent. They were, you know, getting assignment players from 3 to 4 teams, 5 teams in some circumstances. And like, you know, the Bakersfield Jam were affiliated with the Toronto Raptors, and Bakersfield's in Southern California and Toronto's in Canada, you know, so like not close to each other and stuff. So you couldn't like run Toronto Raptors plays. And I do think like that gave Golden State an advantage. Then now more, you know, there are 28 teams with direct affiliations now. Then you got Mexico City Capitanes and G League Ignite. But, you know, that's definitely been a big help. And you can see players seamlessly going from Santa Cruz to Golden State. I mean, Jordan Poole really struggled his rookie year. He went to Santa Cruz for a 3-game stretch, and while that Warriors season 15-50, not a whole lot went right. The Stephen Curry injury, of course, Klay Thompson was hurt the entire year with the torn ACL. Like, Jordan Poole in the last like 13 games before the pandemic was turning the corner. And then his second season got off to a really rough start. He goes to the G League bubble, plays like in 11 or 12 games. You know, was one of the leading scorers and also one of the leading turnover makers in the G League bubble that year. He got his mistakes out of his system. Then he came back for a game in Phoenix, like 26 points right before the All-Star break, and really took off down the stretch of the second half of that season. And obviously, we've seen what he was able to do last year during the playoff run. And while I know like some fans in the Bay Area have been a little frustrated with some of Poole's decision making, you can't argue with the almost 21 points per game he's giving you. So he's still taking a leap forward in production, even if the efficiency hasn't always been there. You know, Damian Lee was a guy who started with his second year professionally was with the Golden State Warriors, coming off a torn ACL. He got a 10-day contract with the Atlanta Hawks, finished the 18 regular season with the Atlanta Hawks, then got a 2-way contract with Golden State, then became a full roster player. You know, JTA, kind of same thing. He was a tryout player for Golden State. Like, he barely made for Santa Cruz. He barely made the Santa Cruz Warriors regular season roster 4 years ago. And he was the last guy to make it. And then within a year and a half, he got called up to Golden State. So there's a lot of examples like that. And yeah, no, it's been an awesome relationship they've had, not only for the players, but, you know, our former coaches. Chris Weems now back on the Golden State bench, Aaron Miles was an assistant with Golden State after being a head coach for 2 years for the Santa Cruz Warriors, and now he's an assistant with the Boston Celtics. So it's been a launching pad for execs, coaches, in addition to the players.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of results, a lot of player development. We have to give a lot of credit to the front office, obviously dealing with that. How is a normal day for you when you have to announce a game for the Santa Cruz Warriors?
Yeah, so like it usually starts a couple days before when I get ready. Say they're playing the Texas Legends. That was the last team we faced. I will watch the Legends' last 2 games, and I'll try to spread that out over a couple days because it'll take you anywhere from 60 to 80 minutes to watch a game. And I don't have the attention span where I can watch games back to back. And then I have like my prep chart that I make, updating all players' stats, info, their shot charts, stuff like that. Team info, last 2 games, team stats, stat rankings across the G League, and I do all that. And then, I head down to Santa Cruz. I live about 40 minutes away from Santa Cruz, no traffic, 35 to 40 minutes. I'm in San Jose. For those who might be familiar with the Bay Area, it's in between San Francisco and Santa Cruz. And then, I get there 3 hours before the game, talk with the coaches about an hour and 45 minutes, an hour and a half before the game. Then we're rolling the ball on the court. We're playing some basketball.
Wow, amazing. So obviously we're talking with Kevin Danna, the Santa Cruz Warrior announcer. Can we make a transition into the Warriors this year? Obviously, they have been struggling on the road. What do you think is one of the biggest reasons for you that Golden State hasn't clicked that well, particularly playing on the road?
I think a lot of it can boil down to their 3-point defense on the road.
Yeah,
like
I saw that.
Like, opponents are shooting like 41% from 3 or something like that on the road against when Golden State's on the road, and it's like 32 or 33% when they're at home. Like that's a crazy split. And the thing that's kind of most confounding to me about the Warriors having 9 road wins to this point, where they're 9-29 on the road this year, I think, like they've won a road game in every playoff series since Steph, Clay, and Draymond have been together. That goes back to the 12-13 season. So they obviously know how to win on the road. And usually this is a team that doesn't get, baffled on the road. They live for those kind of moments. They live to take the heart out of the opponent on their home court. And B, this is a veteran group. Like you'd expect a team that's led by 24 and 25-year-olds to, be really good at home, but really bad on the road. It's weird to see this year that they have absolutely popped up road game after road game, whether it's the 14-point lead in Minnesota or the 4-point lead with 20 seconds to go in Utah, or the 4-point lead with a minute to go in Charlotte, or losing in Detroit, or there's multiple examples, not scoring, not getting a field goal for 5 minutes in the fourth quarter at Portland. It's just, it's a lot of examples that you just don't expect a team of this caliber that has won 4 titles in 8 years to make.
Yeah, great point that you made. Obviously, bringing that stat, I think that's the biggest disparity from playing on the road and playing at home. Like 8 points in between the percentage allowed from the opponents in the 3-point shots. That's one of the things that I think is one of the main factors. But obviously the defense, and Golden State have not been playing good on the road. So that's a great point that you made. This is a veteran team. They have Jordan Poole leading the team in points total, which is very surprising to me. It was a very surprising stat to me, even though Steph has gotten injured this year twice, once with his shoulder and one with his knee. But it's incredible how the Golden State Warriors, and obviously you mentioned that they have had a streak on the playoffs, getting a win on the road. So maybe this is an obstacle of the regular season. Obviously, everything didn't start well, particularly with Draymond punching Jordan Poole. Do you think that the team, or in particular in regards to Jordan, that they have turned the page when it comes to that incident?
I mean, judging by their on-court activity, and I spend my year with the Santa Cruz Warriors, so I haven't even been to Chase Center this year. Usually, like 2 years ago, I was at every game at Chase Center. Working during the COVID year as an emergency broadcaster, and last year I got up to a few games. But I covered teams in like 5 different leagues, so I don't get a chance to be around the team like at all. But like judging by their on-court interactions, they seem to have turned the page. Like, and who knows behind the scenes how they feel about each other off the court, but they seem to be pretty connected on the court. Even from game 1 against the Lakers, like there was still that on-court chemistry. I remember, Jordan Poole finding a cut in Draymond Green for a layup, like one of the first actions they did of the season involved those two. So, I don't know if, what interpersonal stuff is hola a tu perro.
He's barking right now.
But I don't know like how they are interpersonally off the court, but on the court, I don't like it looks like they're pretty in sync, that they have each other's backs and stuff like that. And yeah, there have been things that have frustrated Draymond that Jordan Poole has done, or vice versa. We've seen like Draymond, be visibly exasperated on a play when I think Poole didn't pass it to him in Oklahoma City about a month or 2 ago. But like generally speaking, I think like that their on-court relationship appears to be pretty fine to me. Now, yeah, but off the court, I have no idea what those interactions are like. But on the court, where it counts most for a team trying to win a championship, or at least very significantly counts, they appear to be fine.
Yeah, so we've seen a lot of people. We've seen Jordan Poole getting in a lot of people's nerves. Steve Kerr telling him that focus on the game. Steve Curry when he throws the mouthpiece. Draymond, as you mentioned. The referees when they were calling against the Miami Heat, the traveling, it was crazy. So Jordan Poole has got into a lot of people's nerves. Let's get into Poole. As I mentioned before we went live, I do some work for a Warriors page in Facebook, and I've seen a lot of comments, as you mentioned, and not a lot of people are happy about Jordan Poole decision making, turnovers. Even though he's a young player, he's in his 4th year, and as I mentioned before, he's leading the team in total points. Who would have thought that a 4th-year player getting in and out of the G League would be leading this dynasty in scoring this year? What's your assessment when it comes to Jordan Poole and the critics?
Yeah, I mean, I understand why people can get frustrated with him.
Definitely.
There was someone that I was talking with, a couple of years ago. We would talk, before, after every Warriors game. And one game, my friend would be like, I'm on the Jordan Poole bandwagon. And then the next game, he'd be like, I'm off the Jordan Poole bandwagon. And the game after that, I'm back on the Jordan Poole bandwagon. And then the very next game, I'm back off the Jordan Poole bandwagon. Like, my take on Jordan Poole is that you have to live with this.
Yeah.
Because I think you absolutely need someone who has the entire confidence in the world to take the irrational confidence shots. The step back 30-footer against Minnesota up 2 with 40 seconds to go was a horrendous shot. But I like that he has the confidence to take that shot, because it tells me he's not going to back down in the biggest of moments. Now, he might not be processing things the way we'd want him to process it, but you need someone who has that like edge to them, that believes that, F it all, puedo hacerlo, I can do this. You know what I mean? And I think that's very important. And also, like, Stephen Curry, when he was younger, made a lot of like really bad turnovers, and he still does to this day.
Yeah.
Much. And so, like, I'm not calling Jordan Poole the next Stephen Curry, but there are certainly similar characteristics between the two: the incredible shot making, the decision making, the ability to just electrify an entire building. Like, Jordan Poole has some of that Curry panache. There's no doubt about it. When he gets going, like the fourth quarter in Philadelphia, when he scored 19 points and basically rescued the Warriors that night against Embiid and the Sixers, like there aren't a lot of people that can do that. Now, there aren't a lot of people who turn it over as much as Jordan Poole in certain. I think you'd have to check this stat, but I think he's like third in the league in total turnovers or something like that. Mainly because he plays every game, and that's why he leads the team in total points. So he's playing every game. He has the ball in his hands a lot. There are games where he's making really good decisions. It's a matter of stacking those games, one over another. And the last thing on Poole is that he got the big extension. This extension, by the time this extension ends, he will just be entering the prime of his career. So, he's going to be, 27 years old when this extension finishes? Like, the prime of someone's career, they say, is generally 28 to 32. And so, we are 5 years away from seeing the best version of Jordan Poole, the start of the best version of Jordan Poole. And if this is a 5 years from your prime Jordan Poole, who's averaging 20 points per game, playing in every game, hitting dagger threes and having the confidence to take and make the big shots, even if he fails at times, I think that's a huge win for Golden State.
Yeah, that's
watching Jordan Poole. As much as he frustrates me, I think he is absolutely vital to have someone who has that confidence, that kind of J.R. Smith-esque confidence to take and make big shots.
Yeah, I'm a huge Jordan Poole fan. As you mentioned, he has a lot of irrational confidence. He has a lot of swag. So I think, as you mentioned, they gotta support him. He's young. He recently got an extension, as you mentioned, and that's one of the things that people do not mention a lot. That he has not missed a game this season. So he's been playing very, very solid. And he's not that far away from Clay. Clay is averaging 21, 22, and Jordan is averaging 20. Even though obviously Clay plays a lot of more minutes, but I think sometimes people they try to put a narrative on something. And I was checking the stats in Steph fourth year. The stats, the points, and the turnovers are very, very similar. If I'm not mistaken, they average the same amount of turnovers in their fourth year. And another great point, people sometimes forget how Stephen Curry started his career with a lot of ankle problems, with a lot of injuries, signing the 4 years, $44 million contracts, which later allowed to bring Andrew Iguodala, to bring KD. So I really like your point that we are not saying that he's the next Stephen Curry. Nobody's going to be the next Stephen Curry, but he's a great, great young player, and people needs to give him the respect that he deserves.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that, Mario, for sure.
Yeah, Jordan Poole is averaging 3.1 turnovers, and Draymond is averaging 2.7. What do you think about that stat?
Yeah, no, that's an interesting one. They both handle the ball a lot, so if Jordan Poole's at 3.1 turnovers per game, he's at 4.5 assists, so that's almost 1.5 assist to turnover ratio. It's 1.46, call it, or something like that. If you can get that above 2 eventually, that would be great, because that's kind of where Steph's at almost 2-1. His assists are, it's probably 1.94 or something like that. If you can get that to 2-1, that assist to turnover ratio, that would be huge.
Yeah, and Draymond, sometimes people forgets that Draymond commits a lot of turnovers too. We saw the last game against Minnesota where he threw a pass, he got intercepted, and they lost the game. Yeah. Draymond is averaging 2.7 turnovers, so he's not far. Jordan Poole is not far away from Draymond, but obviously sometimes his mistakes are highlighted more because he's at the end of the games, and obviously he needs to work on that. But he has a great career ahead of him, so we'll see what happens with Jordan Poole. What do you think about Bob Myers? He hasn't got a contract extension. We saw the last game, with the Pelicans, that he was talking to Draymond. Draymond was in one of his rants, in one of his, I'm not going to call it a tantrum, but one of his rants, because I think the staff didn't want to challenge his fifth foul. But what do you think about Bob Myers?
I mean, I think there are only a handful of GMs who could do what Bob Myers did on Tuesday night, and maybe less than a handful. Like Draymond Green, who isn't one to, give a ton of praise that he doesn't give unwarranted praise, Draymond Green.
Yeah.
And to hear him talk about the trust level that he has with Bob Myers after that game, that has been built over the last 11 seasons, that trust between those two. And Bob is a vital part of this thing. I mean, you think about kind of like the core six figures of the Warriors dynasty. You obviously got Steph, Clay, Draymond, Andre Iguodala. Hopefully we can see him in the playoffs at some point. I don't know, with the broken wrist. But then obviously also Bob Myers and Steve Kerr. Those people have been instrumental. Bob Myers has orchestrated, helped orchestrate this dynasty that we're seeing. And his late first round picks, his batting average on late first round picks is pretty impressive when you think about Jordan Poole and Kevon Looney. You're getting starters or like key rotation players out of your 28th pick and your 30th pick, and then your second round guy in Draymond Green. And, Steph wasn't a top 5 pick. Clay wasn't a top 10 pick, and so
Kuminga either.
Yeah, Kuminga's a number 7 pick, though. Like, he had top 3 talent. It's just like he played with Ignite. It was only a 13-game season. So in that small sample size, I don't think I think the college guys, since they had more exposure that year, probably had a leg up on Kuminga and Jalen Green, even though Jalen went 2nd overall. Like Kuminga, he's going to be something. I know I'm kind of dovetailing off into something else, but I hope that Bob Myers is here to stay for a while, because they couldn't have done it without Bob.
Facts. Sometimes people don't talk about Bob Myers, the great job that he has done with this franchise, and as you mentioned, one of the 6 fundamental parts and agents when it comes to getting this dynasty. One of the few last questions that I have for you. I don't want to take advantage of your time. If Draymond Green is playing for the Golden State Warriors next year, do you think that the front office needs to hire, or no, I'm sorry, not hire, but to get a player that has a strong personality in order to deal with Draymond Green? Because in my opinion, Steve Kerr is not a confrontational. He doesn't have a confrontational personality, same as Clay, same as Steph. Do you think that maybe they need to add? Because I've heard that Andre Iguodala maybe is playing that role, but obviously he's at the end of his career. Do you think that maybe they need to balance the strong personality in the locker room?
I don't think so. And one thing I would point to say no is if Andre is that guy, they won the title without Andre Iguodala last year.
Yeah.
Or wait, no, excuse me. He was on the team. See, I'm thinking 2 years ago. My bad. I was doing the math wrong in my head. They did not win a title without Andre Iguodala. Excuse me. But I do Steve Kerr isn't the visibly confrontational guy, but he's not going to back down from anyone. This is a guy who got into a fight with Michael Jordan in the practice, right?
Yeah, he got punched in the eye.
Punched because he was taking it because he wouldn't back down from Michael Jordan. So if he's not going to back down from Michael Jordan after taking a punch to the eye, he's not going to back down from Draymond Green. And this team has been together for so long. I don't think you need a personality guy on the roster. Now, Andre Iguodala has definitely been huge behind the scenes for this team, but yeah, I don't necessarily think they need someone just to fulfill that role of quote unquote keeping Draymond in check. Sometimes he's going to cross the line,
yeah,
but sometimes he's going to toe the line perfectly, and more often than not, he knows what he can get away with. So yeah, I don't see that being, and I could be wrong, but I don't see that being a pressing need for this roster.
Yeah, we've seen Draymond go against, quote unquote, go against Steve Kerr during the 2016 Western Conference Finals. We've seen Draymond going against KD, going against Jordan Poole, LeBron. So we'll see what happens with Draymond next year. He has a player option, right?
Yep, he has a player option, like 27 million, something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
What's your opinion? Do you think that he's gonna take the player option next year?
I hope so. Like, I hope he is on the Golden. I hope all three of those guys spend their entire careers with Golden State. My personal opinion is you ride this until the wheels fall off. And when they fall off, you try to put a spare tire on. You run this thing into the ground. And, like, if they're 38 years old and can barely move, 40 years old and can barely move up and down the court, but they still want to play,
they deserve it.
Like the Golden State, when I grew up, I became a Warriors fan. I was first a Hawks fan because they were on TBS all the time. But then I became a Warriors fan when they drafted Anton Jameson in 1998. Like the last three games of the 97-98 regular season is like when I started my Warriors fandom. I never grew up thinking they would make the playoffs, much less the finals. Like they were so bad for so long. Like when they would get north of 30 wins in a season, I would be excited. Like the fact that this team has won 4 NBA titles, like kind of blows my mind because like 16-year-old Kevin could have never imagined this. And so like, I think you got to pay respect to look, I know it's a winning business and stuff, but these guys have won so much for you that even if they're past their prime, they deserve kind of a victory lap season. Even if it means we're not going to win this year, I don't care. Like, these guys deserve statues. And, like, the Warriors were one of the most, like, just downtrodden franchises in the NBA. Year after year. Like, they went 12 straight seasons without making the playoffs.
Wow.
And like from 95 to 2006, they didn't make the playoffs any of those years. And they only like were close to making it like maybe 2 or 3 of those seasons. Like it was bad. And so the fact that they have, gone to the final 6 out of the last 8 years and like have created the next dynasty in NBA history is, it's mind blowing to me. So you got to do whatever you can to keep this core together as long as possible.
Yeah, and obviously they have won 4 rings in the LeBron James era for a lot of people, the GOAT. So more credit to them. Steph obviously doing it with one team. I have to give a lot of credit for Steph. When KD came to the team, he gave the keys to the Lamborghini to KD. So a lot of credit to Curry, obviously, for his unselfishness. And one last question that I have for you, Wiggins. Today, I've listened to the Lockdown Warriors. What I saw you did a great job there. And it was Rick Barry with Cyrus, and Rick Barry said that he's a legend for the Golden State Warriors. He won a championship. He said that it seems like Wiggins might be coming back. A lot of scenes, if maybe, but he's been out for the past 15, 16. I don't know the right amount of game that he's been out. But my question to you is, do you think that the Warriors can win the championship without Andrew Wiggins?
I think it would be very, very tough for them to win the title without Andrew Wiggins. I think he's pretty essential to this whole operation. I have no idea what's going on with Andrew. I hope everything's okay. I hope he's able to, get his life right, his mind right, and everything that may be going on behind the scenes.
A lot of rumors.
Yeah, a lot of rumors from like user 8764593 on TikTok. Like, I'm not going to believe that. Like,
me too.
Random guy on a camera I've never seen in my life, bringing up these like QAnon level conspiracy theories, like not exactly a trusted source, not exactly like Reuters or ABC News or whatever the leading news organization in Chile is. So like I don't pay attention to the rumors. I have no idea, but I think he is vital to the Warriors winning an NBA title this year. It would be very, very difficult for the Warriors to win one without him.
Obviously, his athleticism, his rebounding. We had a comment here from Jorge Whitaker. He's a great supporter of this channel. He's saying Steph better than LeBron. Damn.
Ooh, okay.
So we've seen Wiggins. He arguably was the second best player last year during the playoff run. In the finals, without a doubt, was the second best player for the Warriors. He did a great job defending Tatum, defending Luka. So to me, I agree with you. It's going to be very, very difficult for the Warriors to win without Andrew Wiggins. He's a great forward. He's young, and obviously he's a great contributor to this team. My last question that I have for you, man, I don't want to take advantage of your time. The small ball, it was a game the Golden State Warriors faced against the Lakers, and they decided, or Steve Kerr decided, to bring Kevin Looney off the bench. And there have been a lot of games where he's coming off the bench. What do you think about this small ball? Maybe the Steve Kerr is following the guidelines of Don Nelson when it comes to small ball. What do you think about these little adjustments that Steve Kerr is making during the regular season?
Yeah, Mario. I mean, even when Kevon Looney's in the starting lineup, it's almost like small ball still there.
Yeah.
Because he's 6'9", and so you're running out. You don't have anyone in the rotation taller than 6'9", and like they won the title last year without playing anyone taller than 6'9" because James Wiseman was hurt, and obviously they traded away James Wiseman. So, look, I mean, it's worked for them. You always worry about them on the glass a little bit, but especially if Kevon Looney's not on the floor. But they've been able. I mean, I personally like seeing Kevon Looney in the starting lineup. I like kind of just his calm, steady
toughness
start a game. And like that's the 5-man starting lineup of when Wiggins is there with Looney, Draymond, Steph, and Clay. They were one of the best plus-minus groups in the entire league. I think they were the second best starting 5-man unit in the entire NBA by plus-minus. So like Looney's a huge part of that. I understand why Steve would bring him off the bench a few times here and there just because of matchups. You want to get Kuminga, guarding like a Brandon Ingram to have that kind of versatility. That makes sense to me. But I think more often than not, you want Kevon Looney in your starting lineup.
Yeah, and Kevon Looney has been an Iron Man. He doesn't miss game. Maybe in my theory is that maybe he's giving Kevon Looney some rest. Maybe a little bit less minutes on the floor. So we'll see what happens. Man, it's been a pleasure. I hope you have a great time, man. It was a great show for me. Thanks once again for being here. I really appreciate your availability, man.
Mario, thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. Happy to come on whenever, man.
We'll see. Hopefully the Warriors can get not into the play-in. Hopefully they can get straight to the playoffs. So we'll see what happens. Last year, I predicted that the Golden State Warriors will get to the finals when the regular season ended. I'm not sure this year. The West is wide open. So we'll see what happens. Maybe we can have you back when the playoffs start. So we'll see, man. Once again, thanks for being here, Kevin.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you, Mario.
So this has been the interview with Kevin Danna, the Santa Cruz Warriors announcer. So hopefully you guys can enjoy it. Everyone that was watching us live and everyone that will be watching later. I really appreciate everyone being here with us. I appreciate obviously Kevin for coming here to my show. So this was the show for today. I hope you enjoy it. And until next time. So it was a great show. So until next time, salute everybody. Peace.